Welcome back to Close Up. New Hampshire has been struggling for some time now to improve its record when it comes to protecting at-risk children in a variety of settings. New Hampshire's child advocate just released an eye-opening report detailing her findings regarding a facility in Tennessee that is housing New Hampshire kids in the care of the state. She's calling it the worst site visit she's ever been on. Child advocate Cassandra Sanchez joins us this morning on Close Up. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So before we get into your findings, describe what this facility in Tennessee is and does and why these New Hampshire kids are there.
Absolutely. So I will start by laying the groundwork as to what placement looks like for children from New Hampshire. We have a comprehensive assessment for treatment, which rates a child on a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being the highest psychiatric level residential placement, 2, 3, and 4 similar, and the real differentiator for those 3 programs is going to be the child to staff ratio and the therapeutic offerings that the facility will have. And so Bledsoe is categorized as a level 3 program. So that's really middle of the road therapeutic program. And the intention is for them to be providing therapeutic care to the children who are residing there. What we found was very different than that. We found they operate very much so like a detention center and much worse off than the expectations we have and what we see here for our detention center in state.
All right, and are they mental health patients, or were these kids who have been adjudicated through the system and would normally be at the Sununu Center?
So my understanding from further looking into the facility is that they accept both, but particularly for the children from New Hampshire, my understanding is that they were sent there. The intention of them going there was for treatment.
You noted that there is a, quote, culture of fear at this facility, and there were a lot of findings that were troubling, but one in particular stood out to me. Your report says disclosures were made that kids were offered incentives to assault other kids at the facility who were disruptive or not behaving as the staff wanted. This sounds eerily similar to some of the problems we've had here in New Hampshire.
It does. It feels a bit like a step back in time. We've made a lot of great progress here in New Hampshire in improving our residential facilities, as well as what we've seen with the lawsuits at YDC, and now we have SYSC, where they've done a lot of work to make it therapeutic and a place where children can go and get treatment and then return to the community. And it feels like a step back in time, almost to an old YDC.
It's important to note News 9 did reach out to Bledsoe for comment and received no response. And you were so upset you sent an email from the parking lot that day, July 11th, to the state saying, get these kids out of here now. Have they been removed?
My understanding is that the children are still there, that the state is working on returning them to New Hampshire. I do not have a time frame, and I can't speak on behalf of the state agencies, but I do understand that they are working to bring them home. But at this time, no, they are still at Bledsoe.
And you've had subsequent meetings reiterating your concerns and saying it's really important that these kids not face potentially more trauma and get out of there. What is the hurdle? Why is the state not able to take action?
So this is really where we get into the larger systemic issues that are all intertwined. We have a lack of foster homes in the state of New Hampshire, which then leads to more children in residential care than necessarily need that level of care. And that bogs up our residential care system. Then we have a layer on top of that is the reduced staffing in our residential facilities. So they're unable to fully fill all of the beds that they have because they have to keep the staffing to child ratio as expected of them by the state. So because of that, we now have all of these layers of these systemic problems that are leading to our kids being placed further away from home.
Have you received any information that these kids might be facing punishment for having told you what they know and what they experienced?
The most information that we received after the fact that there may be some retaliation against these children was an outreach from one of the therapists for one of the children at the facility coming to the state of New Hampshire and saying, we have worries about this child has been lying to you. And for us, that really triggered, this was after we had had some initial meetings, after we had shared our concerns, and it triggered for us, who is the only person that they could be lying to in New Hampshire? And we would take that as if the reporting to us would be a lie.
Interesting. You've had some interesting findings on the state side as well from the Bureau of Children's Behavioral Health. I'm going to read a quote from you. They acknowledged they had not conducted either the initial certification site visit to Bledsoe or the required 2-year recertification visit to Bledsoe. Did these placements get made sight unseen?
It appears that these did. There is a process in place through the certification that there are supposed to be those site visits initially and at the relicensing. I do not have any answers from the state as to why, and priority for me is to get these children home and then really talk about the state with plans to ensure that they're following the certification rules in the future. But we haven't been able to even broach that yet. It's really the essential is the urgency to get those children home.
Right. And in your opinion, was this the best option for placement or the cheapest?
I don't know if I can say the cheapest. I've not done a cost analysis. I would not say the best option. I do believe in conversations with the state that they felt that they were really struggling to place these children and didn't have anywhere locally in state or in our New England region. And that is when they outsourced nationally. And this was one of the programs that was willing to accept them.
You also found that there's no standard operating procedure for DCYF to inspect these facilities, which is kind of stunning given the fact that they have a lot of turnover and there might not even be the institutional memory there in terms of how you do this and what needs to be in place for kids to be safe. You talked about this being a step back. At this point, you know, what needs to happen at a systemic level to get the real change that the state has been trying to achieve for a decade now?
Excuse me. I do think that first and foremost, we need to be looking at these facilities better. I do believe that we are better off having our children in New Hampshire and at the maximum in the New England region. There's closer opportunities for oversight, whether it be through DCYF, the Bureau of Children's Behavioral Health, my office. We have much easier opportunity to get to those facilities that are in state and are in our region. So ideally, that is where our children should be placed, and we should need these national partners. But currently our state is still doing that. So in the interim, if we are choosing to utilize these national partners, I do believe that the certification and contracting team needs to do better research in the forefront, including simple Google searches of the company itself, the parent company. We learned a lot through that simple Google search. So I do believe that is a requirement, as well as getting out there in person, fully assessing. It's very different to be there and to observe and listen, and the smells that you receive, everything really helps you better understand the culture. And so I do believe they need to be there in person to dig deeper, to get a full sense before they make a determination of whether this is a facility that aligns with the way in which New Hampshire is moving towards ensuring that we're using programs that are trauma-informed.
Yeah, and certainly you mentioned the trauma-informed care. You know, you want that to be a real change and not just sort of a catchphrase in public relations. So,
absolutely.
Child advocate Cassandra Sanchez, this is tough information to digest, but we appreciate that you're bringing it forward into the public light. Thanks so much for your time here on Close.
Yes, thank you for having me.